Every time you see a fee on your financial statement, you probably ask yourself the same question. Is this actually worth it? What am I even paying for? If you think the answer is hiring a stock picking genius, I have some news for you. Even the pros at Vanguard say that that's the wrong way to look at it. In fact, they've spent years researching exactly what a good advisor is worth, and they found a number that might surprise you. 3%. But that 3% doesn't come from finding the next Tesla or timing the market perfectly. It comes from a framework called Advisor Alpha. It's about the stuff you can actually control, like your taxes, your costs, and most importantly, your own behaviour. Today, we're going to break down the 3% roadmap and show you where the real value of advice is hidden. Let's head to the video and see how the math of advice actually adds up.
So we all hear it, right? Get a financial advisor. But what's that advice actually worth? Well, today we're going to dig into some really fascinating research from Vanguard that puts a real number on it. They call it the Advisor's Alpha.
Okay, let's just get right to it with the question that I know is on everyone's mind. You see those fees on your statements, and you can't help but wonder, is hiring an advisor really worth the money I'm paying?
Well, you know what? According to Vanguard, the answer isn't just a shrug and a maybe. They've actually quantified it. The number they came up with is about 3%. Just think about that for a second. A good advisor could potentially add an extra 3% to your net returns year after year. Now that is a huge claim, so let's break down exactly where that number comes from. But before we can really unpack that 3%, we have to talk about the biggest, most common misconception about what a financial advisor is even supposed to be doing in the first place. Most of us think it's all about beating the market.
And this slide, man, it just nails the huge gap in thinking here. On the left, you've got the common belief. You hire an advisor to be some kind of stock-picking genius. But the research on the right says the real value, the alpha, is in something totally different. It's about guidance, planning, and discipline. Basically, their most important job is to manage you, not just your portfolio.
And you know, this isn't just some academic theory. The proof is right there in the data. We, as investors, are already voting with our feet. Just look at where the money has been going for the last decade and a half. It's flooding out of those expensive active funds that try to beat the market and into simple, low-cost index funds. We're already acting like we know the secret isn't in chasing superstar fund managers. And really, this quote from Carl Richards it boils the entire idea down perfectly. The whole framework we're about to explore, that entire 3% of value, it all comes down to this one simple, powerful idea. Stop worrying about what you can't control, like the day-to-day chaos of the market, and get absolutely ruthless about focusing on what you can.
All right, so let's officially dive into this framework that Vanguard has dubbed the Advisor's Alpha. We're going to define what it is, and then we're going to look at all the little pieces that add up to that big 3% number. So what is this Advisor's Alpha thing anyway? Well, it's pretty simple. It's the measurable value that comes from following proven smart strategies, best practices, not from trying to hit a home run by finding the next hot stock. It's less about trying to win the lottery and more about having a solid, repeatable game plan.
And here it is. This is the roadmap to that 3%. Vanguard breaks it all down into these core buckets. You've got stuff you'd probably expect, like saving on costs and being smart about taxes, but just look at that top line item, behavioral coaching for 1.5%. That's half of the entire value proposition right there, so we have to start with that.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most important part of this whole thing, the human factor. Because it turns out that the biggest threat to your portfolio is probably you. And the most valuable thing an advisor does might just be protecting you from yourself.
I mean, this chart says it all, doesn't it? That big bar on the left, behavioral coaching, is worth as much as or more than all the other stuff combined. This really suggests that the most critical part of financial advice has way less to do with spreadsheets and a lot more to do with psychology.
So what's going on here? It's all about something called the behavior gap. See, we're human, we're emotional. We get greedy when the market's hot and we get terrified when it crashes. An advisor's job is to be that emotional circuit breaker, the person who stops you from panic selling at the absolute bottom or chasing some meme stock at the very top. Those are the mistakes that can cost you dearly.
Okay, so after the psychology, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it all. This is about building and maintaining your portfolio in a really disciplined and cost-effective way. And this part of the alpha really just comes down to two super simple but incredibly powerful habits. First, keep your costs as low as possible.
Use those cheap index funds and ETFs because every single penny you don't pay in fees is a guaranteed return in your pocket. Second, you got to stick to your plan by systematically rebalancing, which is all about keeping your risk in check.
And you know, it's really important to be crystal clear about what rebalancing is actually for. Its main job isn't to magically boost your returns, it's to control risk. Think about it. After stocks have a great year, your portfolio might be way riskier than you're comfortable with. Rebalancing is just the simple discipline of trimming those winners and getting back to your original game plan.
All right, let's bring it home with the last few pieces of the puzzle. This is all about being really, really smart with taxes, both while you're saving up money and, maybe even more importantly, when you start spending it in retirement.
Now here's a strategy a lot of people miss. It's called asset location. It's not about what you own, it's about where you own it. The basic idea is to put the stuff that creates a big tax bill every year, like say high-yield bonds, inside your tax-protected accounts. Just doing that can cut down on the drag from taxes and add real money to your bottom line over the long run.
And if you're getting close to retirement or you're already there, listen up, because this is huge. The simple decision of which bucket of money to pull from first, your regular taxable account, your tax-deferred pension, or your tax-free accounts, can have a massive impact on how long your money lasts.
And the numbers here are just wow. A smart, optimized withdrawal strategy can add more than 1.5% in value every single year. For a retiree, that is an absolute game changer. It can dramatically improve how long that retirement portfolio will last.
So, after breaking it all down, let's zoom back out for a second and put that 3% number in perspective. It's not some ironclad guarantee you get every year like clockwork. It's a framework, and often that value shows up in big bursts, right when you need it most, like during a market panic. And honestly, beyond the numbers, there's the stuff you can't quantify. The confidence, the discipline, and just the peace of mind you get from having a plan and someone in your corner.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The real power here, according to all this research, isn't in trying to predict the unpredictable. It's about rigorously, relentlessly controlling the things you can. So the real question for all of us is, do we know what those things are? And are we focusing our energy in the right place?
It really comes down to this. An advisor isn't there just to manage your money. They are there to manage your future. When the markets are crashing and the headlines are screaming, you don't need a salesperson. You need a behavioural guardrail. You need someone with the experience to say, I've seen this before, and here is how we're going to navigate it. One calm conversation in a crisis can literally be worth more than a decade of fees. So, take that checklist we just went through, use it, ask the tough questions. Make sure you aren't just hiring a service provider, but finding a lifelong strategic partner who understands your why. I'll leave you with the same question we ended with. Are you looking for a product seller, or are you looking for a guide for your entire journey? If you want to see how we answer those questions, or if you're ready to start a conversation that begins with your life and ends with your money, reach out. Subscribe to keep building your financial wisdom with me. Thanks for watching.